I wish I knew about that one thing when I started mixing 20 years ago. Hey, what's going on, my friend? Chris Salim here from Mixdown Online. I don't know about you, but mixing is not that easy. I've been mixing for more than 20 years and I'm still learning about things to improve my mixes. But there's that one thing that I wish I knew when I first started mixing. And that one thing helped me to improve my mixing workflow, help my mixes to translate way better everywhere, and also help me to mix faster. I'm gonna split that up, giving you 3 examples around that one thing, and the third one actually helped me a lot to get my mixes to translate well on most systems. I'm gonna start this one with the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto Principle, which states that 80% of the results will come from 20% of the work or the effort. So if I want to apply this in mixing, it's very simple. For example, let's take a mix session where I have like maybe 60 tracks. That means that if I focus on only 12 tracks out of the 60, my mix would be 80% done. Now the numbers can of course vary. Now it states 80-20, it could be 90-10, 95-5, 75-25, so you get the idea. So that simply means that if you focus on the most important elements of a mix, that will make up to more than 80% of the final result. So let's say I'm mixing a rock song or a country song, which will mainly consist of guitars, drums, bass, vocals, sometimes piano, synths, and so on. So you get the idea. So in this case, the question I ask myself is, what are the main elements of a rock song or a country song or a pop song? It's gonna turn around the same elements, which is lead vocal, drums, mainly kick and snare, bass. That's it, And I'm telling you, even on a rock song, I don't spend lots of time mixing guitars, Once I get the tone right, which is pretty fast, it's a matter of panning, maybe adding a few effects, but it's not where I'm gonna put lots of energy on. I'm gonna focus way more on my lead vocal, on my kick, my snare, my bass, all those elements that are mainly in the center of the stereo image. Once these elements are right to where I want them to be, it's gonna be way easier to mix the other elements like guitars, synths, pianos to get my mix to where I want it to be. My second example is to spend as less time possible on preparing my mix session, and that's why I always work with a mix template that evolves over time, So I have my main mix template where all of my routing is done. So all my tracks are routed to the correct group channels and also to the correct effects channel tracks. All of my main reverbs, delays for my vocals are already in my template. Same for most of my plugins that I work with all the time, Everything is already in my mix template. Most of them will be bypassed so I can work on a good static mix without any effects, but everything is already inserted and ready to be activated if I need to. The only thing that I need to do is to import the tracks into my mixed template session, work on a rough mix, and I'm good to go and start mixing. Now, if you want to know more about how you can set up your own mix template according to your needs, I have a free training for you. The link is down below. And in this training, I show you how you can create the perfect mix template. Again, the link is down below. Now, the third example I want to share with you, and this one is a very important one. That one helped me to get my mixes to translate well on most audio systems. And it's all about focusing on the mid-range when mixing. Now, I received a comment a few weeks ago going like this. It all depends on the genre, especially when you do music like trap beats, which are very reliant on sub-bass and clear highs. The mid-range thing has less priority. Now, I'm going to tell you why I disagree with this comment. First of all, yes, trap music, hip-hop, EDM will have lots of low bass frequencies and probably lots of top end, but the problem is, and this is something that lots of new mixers will tend to do, is to spend way more time focusing on the low bass frequencies and the top end, making mixes like bass and high heavy, which is going to bring you that kind of a smiley face EQ curve on the full mix. Doing so will make your mixes getting a hard hard time to translate well on most systems. And the reason is very simple. Sub-frequencies and high top-end frequencies will not sound the same from one system to another, depending on what you listen music on. Some headphones will have a very good low bass frequency response and lots of top-end, and some other systems will lack of low sub-frequencies and the highs will sound dull. But what all systems will have in common is the mid-range. All systems that you're going to listen to, whether it's headphones, speakers, studio monitors, or even the sound coming out of a TV or a computer, are going to give you a nice mid-range representation of the music you're listening to. The life and character of a mix is going to come out of the mid-range, and that's why it's very important to nail that mid-range out. Once you nail the mid-range, you're 80% done with your mix also. You'll have lots of power, lots of energy, you'll have way better presence also with your instruments, and your bass kick drum will sound way better and more punchy if you have a nice, good sounding mid-range. That's why the NS10 was and still is a popular speaker choice for mixing music, because it focuses on the mid-range. There's like no sub-bass coming out of the NS10, and the top end is actually pretty weak. And people that are used to mix on NS10s will always tell you the same thing. When I get a good mix out of these speakers, my mixes are going to translate well everywhere, and that's the most important thing. And you'll see that once you have the mid-range done, it's going to be way easier to mix your sub-frequencies and your top end also. And you will end up mixing those elements of the mix way faster. Now, there's several ways you can focus on the mid-range when mixing. One of them is to listen to your mixes on small speakers like these types of Auratone-like speakers, which are going to focus way more on the mid-range, or getting yourself a pair of NS10s will work. And there's also stuff you can do within your DAW, and if you want to know more about this type of technique, you can watch this video, Simple Mid-Range Mixing Reference Trick, that I have on my YouTube channel. Let me know what you think, leave your comments and questions down below, don't forget to share, like, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and see you.